Good morning, everyone. So many of you know that the road to our current level of technology, law enforcement, and quality of life community adjustments lessons were learned with major consequences. So, in the topic of smart city, we will be exploring one of the lessons learned by Japanese to establish one of the best traffic systems in the world. One of the traffic crises of old Japan, called the traffic war. To understand more about this traffic war, let us go back to the past. In 1960, after the World War II, Prime Minister Hayato Ikeda announced the income doubling plan Shotoku Baizo Keikaku, aiming to double Japan's gross national products in 10 years. Even though they succeeded way more than expected, the consequences were also the same. Thanks to the increased income, the number of passenger cars alone in Japan rose from 150,000 in 1955 to more than 8.7 million in 1970, with the total vehicle being over 17 millions, including buses, trucks, and small mobile. The second reason is that in the 1950s, the essentials were a black and white TV, a washing machine, and a refrigerator. But by the late 1960s, these were updated to the three C's. Corolla means car, color TV, and cooler means air conditioner, that further incentivizing car ownerships. And the third reason is that for economic purposes, construct transport was shifted from rail-based freight to road-based trucking, meaning big vehicles going into small roads. Due to the outburst of vehicle but poor traffic system, the result was catastrophic. In the 1970s, annual traffic fatalities peaked at a record 16,765 deaths, exceeding the total Japanese military fatalities suffered during the entire First Sino-Japanese War. Tens of thousands of children had lost one or both parents to traffic accidents. This became a major focal point of national grief and media coverage, stripping away the idea that car crashes were just unfortunate accidents. In order to end this war, the government has to take actions into their hands for the lives of people. Because Japanese cities were historically built for walking and handcarts, integrating millions of high-speed steel boxes required a complete physical overhaul. Between the 1970s and 1980s, the number of traffic signals in Japan skyrocketed from 15,000 to 95,000. The government constructed thousands of pedestrian overpasses, painted explicit guardrails, and built physically separated sidewalks to isolate foot traffic and vehicles. Residential areas were intentionally re-engineered with narrow, winding streets and strict 30 km per hour speed limits to inherently discourage speeding and cut through traffic. And finally, the introduction of some of the world's absolute toughest penalties for drunk driving, failing to wear seatbelts, or reckless behaviors. And the result is that the push successfully cut traffic deaths to fewer than 2,600 in recent years. With the cultural impact of school children are explicitly taught how to navigate crosswalk from kindergarten, neighborhoods feature high visibility mirrors on every blind corner, and community groups remain deeply involved in local safety campaigns. But perhaps the most foundational reason Japan won its traffic war was giving citizens the freedom not to drive. The parallel explosion of bullet trains and other railroad systems reduced the vehicle interaction, thus lower traffic accidents. The lessons to be learned here is that sometimes incident occurrences are not only because of human error, but also the system flaws. And in order for innovations to be effective, the government needs to take actions. Actually, by the early 1980s, fatalities spiked again to over 11,000. This was considered to be the second traffic war of Japan. However, this era was different. The victims were mostly drivers and passengers inside vehicles traveling at high speeds. This second crisis was solved through technological cabin safety, is mandatory seatbelts, airbags, and crumple zones, rather than just urban planning.